Ahsoka has been a pretty hyped up series. A lot of people are looking forward to it, and some even think it could be the start of a better future for the Star Wars franchise as a whole. But instead of delving into the lore that the show will cover, or even Ahsoka's backstory and interviews, Rosario Dawson's attempt to garner hype has been surrounding the gender of her character and others in the series, saying how the female representation is like a breath of fresh air, and how in the space we don't get to see powerful women enough. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube membership. So starting off with this Bounding Into Comics article, it says the press tour for the upcoming Disney Plus series Ahsoka has begun, and Lucasfilm is cranking up the identity politics in order to try and get people to not only subscribe to the service, but spend their time watching the series. Now, this is a show that we have heard Disney is pretty proud of. They are really looking forward to this going up on the service, primarily because they know it is going to pull at people's heartstrings and our nostalgia, because we all know Ahsoka, we love Ahsoka. They're bringing together a lot of different elements from Ahsoka's backstory, and there have even been some rumors that Anakin will be in it. We don't know if that's for sure, but it seems very likely. But yeah, we know that they have, put a lot of money towards this. It's got a pretty big budget, and overall it seems like they are pretty confident in its future. But instead of getting people excited over it, again, by bringing up lore and talking about Ahsoka herself. No, they are focusing on identity politics. It says Rosario Dawson is leading the charge with the identity politics promotion. In a recent interview alongside the series producer Carrie Beck with Total Film via The Direct, she shared why she believes viewers like the characters of Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera. Dawson's comments came after Beck confirmed that the show will center on the three characters, telling the outlet the show is about a Jedi, a warrior, and a general. I think most people who are clicking on this series only really care about Ahsoka. That's why it's called Ahsoka, but I'm all for them, highlighting some other very important characters around the same time. Beck added these characters are defined by their roles and responsibilities to each other and the galaxy. When you watch the 15 years of Ahsoka's journey in animation, it took me a second to even appreciate how many women were on the show. And this was Dave's proclivity. That was George Lucas's proclivity. Now, I think that this is kind of an odd statement saying, just because I watched her journey in animation meant that, oh wow, I didn't realize how many women were on the show. That is just like a really odd claim to make. Clearly, if you're actually paying attention to the show and actually consuming the content, you would know how many women there were. I don't know. It's just a very odd statement. But then it gets even worse, saying, and now to see it continue with John and Kathleen, it's really quite beautiful. Kathleen Kennedy has been one of the worst things to happen to Star Wars. I would love it if tomorrow she was fired, she was kicked, she left. It doesn't matter to me. If she was no longer digging her claws into Star Wars, I think that's really the only way that we would see, a new future for Star Wars, because as long as she is there, it is looking negative, at least in my opinion. I used to absolutely love Star Wars, and I still do love good Star Wars, but since Disney bought Lucasfilm, it's just been a mess. From here, we actually get to start talking about their genders and the core of the identity politics. I think that's actually one of the reasons why people have loved Ahsoka and Sabine and Hera's journey all of this time, because they had been so prominent as female representation in a space that we don't really get to see women be like that, to be such leaders, to be finicky, to be headstrong, to be stubborn, and to see how different they are and how well they all come together as a chosen family. It was really fun fun to see how that's only just expanded and grown, and there's such a rich history there, and not just because of a desire for more inclusivity or diversity, but because it's just been inherent to the story that's been told ever since Dave and Carrie came on board. Now, this is such a ridiculous statement to make, saying something like, there isn't just a desire for more inclusivity or diversity, but it's simply inherent to the story. Disney only really cares about pushing diversity and inclusivity because they believe it will, at the end of the day, lead to more money. But she's saying things like there aren't women in this space that are finicky leaders, headstrong, stubborn, and just different. We don't even know what in a space means. You could argue Star Wars, and I could sit here and list off 50 very strong female Star Wars characters, unless she's just talking about the broader kind of entertainment industry with films and content that is similar to Star Wars, that is sci-fi, that is space opera, that is fantasy. We don't really know, but either way, that argument can be destroyed. To keep it simple, let's just list off strong, different female characters in Star Wars. Leia, Padme, Jyn, Satele Shan, Bastila Shan, Mission Veo, Valen, Asajj Ventress, Mara Jade, Janie Solo, and yes, Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera are definitely characters that would fit on that list, but to act like they're so unique is a lie, because there are so many other female characters who are just as good. But we all know why she is saying this, and it is simply to virtue signal her way out of outrage. Clearly, she is doing this to appease the people who tried to cancel her years ago because a member of the transgender community had lobbed some hefty allegations against her and her family. They had filed a lawsuit against her family and claimed that they had both assaulted and purposefully misgendered him, and it was dropped, but clearly she knows who she's appealing to by saying these things. And you know what? Maybe Lucasfilm had told her, yeah, you've got to push this in order to hopefully not get canceled again. Maybe people will not bring it up. And I haven't seen any of the, outrage mobs on Twitter bring it up again. But I'm sure as we get a bit closer to the show's release, we will see some people mention it and try to pressure Lucasfilm maybe into canceling the series, which is absurd. But we have heard some, decent information about this series. It sounds like they did put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it, and I want this show to be good. I don't want Star Wars to be trash anymore, but at the end of the day, while Kathleen Kennedy is there, while we have people coaching, cast members into going into interviews and saying things like this, only talking about, diversity and inclusivity and representation, I don't think that we're going to get back to the good days of Star Wars, especially where they are bringing characters like Rey back and they're giving her her own, as far as we've heard, it's going to be at least one movie, but a potential trilogy. I mean, all of these things are not good, and it does seem like they're starting the same identity politics focused interview tactics with this new Ahsoka series. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.